All right, everybody, welcome back to the Hemp Chat. I'm your host, Derekcross, and we have a great guest with us today. I've known her for several years. She was one of the first to develop the actual. She was part of Colorado Department of Agriculture, and she was into one of the first ladies in the industrial hemp space. So what Maureen West is right now, she's currently the general counsel and compliance officer for Functional Remedies. It's a hemp oil manufacturing company that really brings some great products and education to the space. And with Maureen's successes, she's been, like I stated, with the Department of Agriculture, helping the industrial hemp programs grow. And then being a part of a company like Functional Remedies, she's been able to be part of that compliance factor, which is so important to us in this growing phase and space in where we are in hemp and cannabis as a whole. And when we're out in the space, she can go ahead and elaborate a little bit more about the compliance factors. It can make and break your companies, people. So what we're here to do is give you the information and education to be successful in business. It's not just to promote their products and what they're doing, but you have got to go in this headstrong with a plan and know what risks there are. And that's some of the things I'm going to ask Maureen about today, and how they developed the program in Colorado to help benefit the farmers and the businesses. So Maureen, from Functional Remedies, I appreciate you and your time coming onto the Hemp Chat to explain to our listeners and our audience, not only the products, but your professional, first woman in history to be part of this great hemp industrial movement. So thank you very much for your investment into hemp and to the people that support it and the farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I've actually kind of gotten on the passionate about hemp train. So anytime I get an opportunity to talk about it, I really appreciate it.
Well, I think we all do. I think we all get real excited about talking about
Yeah.
hemp because what in the U.S. history now, over 7 years since Ryan Laughlin's put the seed in the soil, it's really sparked up, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. I think that we've come a long way and we have a long way to go. That's kind of, I think, a realistic assessment of it. But I was in health law. I was a health law attorney for most of my career, and health law is a pretty dynamic industry and area. And I think hemp certainly is as dynamic, if not more dynamic. So it's fun to be a part of an industry that has so much potential.
It really has a lot of potential. And I know we all tout about all the products that can be made from the industrial hemp plant. And when I first started getting involved in this 12 plus years ago, I remember I'm going to be 50 this year. And I remember in going and I grew up in Minnesota, and I worked, in the summer on the farms, detasseling corn and pulling weeds out of the bean fields. And my first real, I can rewind, and I'm a 70s child. So my mom used to take me to these parties where things were going around. I didn't know then,
Yeah.
right? But I'm out in the field and I see, this huge cannabis plant. And my mind goes, oh, I'm, 13, 14. I started stripping the leaves off and bringing it home to my mom. Hey, mom, look what I got. I didn't know that it was industrial hemp back then, until basically into my 20s, did I start learning the history about hemp. And then just recently, in the past 13 years, educating about this plant and really learning more about its evolution here in the United States. There's so much that can be done. We all thought it was just dope and rope, but it's not, you know.
No, it just one of my favorite things about being involved in this industry is I really believe it brings people together. And I say that because I've spoken all over Colorado in all different kinds of, well, I've spoken, nationally at this point, but when I was the Industrial Hemp Program Manager and I got to travel around Colorado and speak about hemp, what really struck me and what I really enjoyed was looking out across the room and seeing so many different kinds of people in that room. Third and fourth generation ranchers, with, to over there talking to people with, dreads and, people that they might not have otherwise engaged with. But I saw people engaging and finding all this common ground. And I think that that's really special. I think that there's room for everybody in this industry, regardless of your ideologies or your background. We sort of need everybody. We need all kinds of expertise and talent. So it really is something that brings people together. And that for me is a really fun part of it.
Well, we do see all faces in this space,
Mhm.
young, old, uh, everything. And that's what I personally, I really enjoy that, because now we're seeing more community involvement, more people getting to learn. And, it's always been about the education for me here,
Right.
and being able to get that out appropriately with people.
Mhm.
And, one of my questions to you, as a previous industrial hemp program manager for the state of Colorado, what do you think is one of the top issues facing hemp farmers today?
Well, I've been very vocal about this because, and I'll explain a little bit more, but clearly destruction of plants. That to me is something that we've got to find solutions to that. I mean, who in their work invest the kind of time and money um, in what they do here, hemp farmers, who go into it really with the right intentions. They're not trying to illegally grow marijuana. They're trying to grow industrial hemp and not exceed the 0.3% THC threshold. But what's at stake for them is everything. It's if it exceeds that threshold, then they're ordered to destroy their crop. And having been a person who's been in regulation for decades, um, this is really out of order. I mean, sometimes there's violations of regulations, but there shouldn't, in my opinion, be such an extreme consequence, especially when the reality is that it's so unintentional. Bad players don't go and register usually with a government agency and disclose all the kind of information you need to do
Right.
just to try to thwart it. So we have to kind of really that is something that just has to be resolved, in my opinion.
It really does. And, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into this, and there's a big learning curve. And when we take in consideration of that learning curve, we're trying to replicate the models from Europe and Canada, and even China into the equation, and trying to set this level, which they've been able to do successfully in Europe, and maintain their levels. In Canada, the level went from zero point zero 0.02 to zero point zero 0.03. From Europe is zero point zero 0.02. Canada's tolerance is zero point zero 0.03. And for America to experience this, for the farmer, it's hard to stay because of all the different growing conditions and environments. And that's what we've seen. One of my partners, after Ryan in Colorado, she was one of the first female partners, or one of the first female, excuse me, ladies to be growing in this country. And I remember going out to the farm, and we were primarily growing for tea. And we were looking at how this plant started taking roots, and what it's done. So we were doing testing on the roots. We had a hail damaged crop, and then there was extreme heat, so the plant changed colors, it changed in dynamics, and it actually, the root system on this one, if you go look me up, and see some of my pictures, this one particular plant grew to be about 5 foot tall, and it grew broken on the ground, and the root structure was over 3 feet. And you'll see me wearing my red shirt and my hat, and I'm showing the root on this plant, because it seeks out its nutrients. So when you're trying to farm this and stay in the compliance, it's difficult, because all those things take, you know you can have certain genetics, but the soils, the air, the temperatures all change. And for American farmers to be compliant at point 0.3, is tough. It is challenging. And I
It's
know there is an initiative right now, correct, that the farmers are trying to raise that THC level.
yes,
So while we're learning this, people aren't getting a total loss of their crop. If nothing else, they should, in my opinion, hit the break even point, and not take a bath on this educational experience.
absolutely, because most of the time in regulation, you're regulating somebody's conduct or behavior, things that they actually have control over. But here you're regulating a plant that the registrant is trying to control, but sometimes you can't because of all these various factors that you recognized. And having had to be the person who actually had to, sit at my desk and make those phone calls and tell a farmer, I'm really sorry to tell you this, but your crop tested high, and that 250 acres you have, well, guess what? It needs to be destroyed. It brings it down to a very core level, a basic level of, the truth of
Right.
that this person really didn't intend to do this, and they really are so terribly impacted by this. And so and plus, of course, just the waste, right? I mean, there's
Right.
got to be solutions for this. There are solutions. And
There,
so I think we
there
need
are
to keep,
solutions.
there
There
are
are.
solutions, and we need to keep that going and that mantra, because otherwise we'll just go forever trying to regulate something that's very difficult to regulate.
It is very difficult to regulate, and we'll talk about this as your position as the Colorado Assistant Attorney General, and
Mhm.
that's where you can really shed some light on this, I believe, for us. But listeners, what we're talking about is, we've been educating, we've seen the evolution of hemp grow in the past 7 years here in the United States, and I always urge farmers not to grow more than they can lose, just because of what we're
Mhm.
talking about here, the
Mhm.
compliance factor and the learning curve. And I have, because we have a multi-use plant here for A, CBD, and or B industrial purposes. So as a farmer, you have opportunities to grow for multiple reasons, but you have to get the right advice. You have to start small, and then you have to crawl before we run here, you know and so do not gamble with money you can't afford to lose.
Yes, and unfortunately, in any kind of scenario, there are people that are trying to make a quick dollar, and we've definitely had our share of those within this industry. So that's just human nature, right? I mean, it's just one of those things that you can't completely avoid. But what you can do is do your homework and talk to people, and not just put the blinders on and want to believe, because I think that's what we've seen a lot throughout these last years. Is there are a certain segment that just want to believe it's all going to be okay, and unfortunately
Yeah.
it's not always okay. And so we need to be talking about that and really trying to educate and help these people understand what's at stake and be realistic about it.
So can you elaborate a little bit more on some of the initiatives that they're going to try to set and raise that bar to a 1% tolerance? Do you have any
you
information
know
that you can share, or?
I know that there's a lot of interest in doing it, and I think the problem is to be candid, is that it's right now it's in the farm bill. It's set at 0.3%. So
Mm,
that's a very big, heavy lift to
yeah.
try to get federal legislation changed. Um, and so I think we have to be realistic about that. And it doesn't mean that we're silent, and there's a lot of persuasive reasons to change it. But anytime you try to change a big piece of federal legislation like that, it's a very heavy lift.
It is. It's a very heavy lift, and we've lifted it thus far. And I know those things will change over time. And there has been changes from the 2014 to the 2018 Farm Bill,
Right.
and we have to embrace this because of the way the structure of our federal government is. We have to comply. We have to grow our business in such manners that comply. And the disadvantage is there's 50 different states with different rules at play. My recommendation is, let's convince the government to just take Schedule 1 off correct? That opens up a lot more doors. And let's not punish people in this learning curve. Let the solutions help in this learning curve. Let's raise the tolerance level, and let's be adults here and really realize we're not in a fear segment. When we see the results, the cat's been out of the bag on cannabis for many, many years. You know, California's been grown since 1996. And, you know, when we take cannabis and CBD hemp medicines, it's good for the people and it's good for the planet. And that's what my mission's all about.
Yeah.
Planting seeds of wellness for the people on the planet. So let's go ahead and plant it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I come from a pretty mainstream background, being a Colorado Assistant Attorney General and representing, medical board, dental board, nursing board, so and so on. And so I've seen a lot, and I've seen how we do need to find new solutions. Certainly, the opioid crisis has caused, and I'm not trying to speak beyond my expertise in terms of, medical marijuana or hemp versus opioids. I'm not trying to do that, but what I am saying is that we need to constantly be in a state of looking for, again, solutions in that area as well. And because it is ultimately all about helping people.
It is. It really is, as far as helping people. And, one of my past guests as a doctor, he talked and touched about the opioids. And opioids are actually good for pain, instant pain relief. But it's the addiction that's the issue. And, cannabis is not in hemp and or CBD medicines, the end result in addiction. I mean, anybody can be addicted to anything. Really,
Right.
there's people that eat their pillows and couches, for God's sakes. We
Yeah.
need the solution to help those people to stop eating the cushions in their couches. I
Yep.
mean, I've had some cannabis and I've been couched, but not enough to have the munchies and grab a pillow. You know what I mean?
No, that's
So,
news to me.
yeah, no, I mean, there's a show out there. You got to check it out. There's people that are
Well,
whacked,
I will.
or maybe they think they're normal. I don't know.
Yeah.
But can you touch more about your Colorado Assistant Attorney General, and what did you learn that would be able to bring that you've been able to bring to the hemp industry?
Sure. Well, again, I have about 20 years of experience at the Colorado Assistant Attorney General's office, and I've represented um, at least 12, over a dozen regulatory boards, everything from barbers and cosmetology to funeral to just about every type of healthcare practitioners boards. And the real takeaway, I think, for your listeners is that we are not inventing the wheel here. We don't need to reinvent it. That regulation has everything about your life is regulated, whether you recognize it or not. When you really start to think about it, you go to the doctor, it's regulated. You go to the bank, it's regulated. You go out to eat, it's regulated. I mean, your insurance is regulated. It just goes on and on and on. So this isn't like a brand new concept especially for people who have been involved in regulation. And that's, and I say this with all due respect, but that's one of the things I see in this industry is sometimes people in the industry, and obviously not everybody, but it's a theme I hear sometimes. It's kind of like they're special. And I just want to say to them, really, this is just another form of regulation. There are some real problems with where we currently stand with this regulation, but there have been problems in other kinds of regulation that had to be flushed out and improved and fixed. But at the end of the day, we really do have some other industries that we can look at to see. And where I'm going with that is I think self-regulation is huge. We need to get the industry on board and understand that this is part of the industry. We're going to need to be regulated. And to really have some strong self-regulation, because the industries and the professions that I've seen that have been most successful in generating change are those that work together and collaborate and self-regulate and sort of take some of this need for regulation away from the government because they're self-regulating themselves.
Well, as far as the regulation goes, you're absolutely right. We're always regulated. If we have a social security number attached to us, we're regulated. So
Exactly. So we kind of have to get over this idea of,
yeah.
oh my gosh, regulation. It's like you're already very regulated.
Yeah, and regulations are actually a good thing as far, especially when we're dealing with the products that are topical or ingestible from for whatever reasons, whatever your use for those products are. There you have to be up to good health standards and practices. And even when it comes to dealing with products like the seed oil, hemp protein powders, those are food, so we have to be in compliance when it comes to that as well. But I know there's things in this country on all different levels. People are making new rules as far as if you're in the military, you can't eat hemp seeds. That to me is just kind of stupid. I was in the military. I was in the United States Navy. I served this country, and they didn't like the fact that I had cannabis in my system. So I did 30 days in the brig over it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
true story. That doesn't really come out, and I'm just sharing that with you. That is true.
Oh,
And
absolutely it is. Yeah.
just because it was in my urine,
Right. Right.
I
And it
couldn't
might
even
have even been
contest it.
right. And there might have even been, they might have even used the wrong test. That's a whole other conversation, but there's a lot of that
Yeah.
goes on too. So,
But but
absolutely.
so there is regulation for good reasons, but you know, uh growing, we need to find the solutions. I have a couple of solutions up my sleeve for people that grow large quantities of hemp and go hot. I have a couple of suggestions, and I can bring some things to the table how we can deal with that. So, farmers, I would like to have some other additional communications with. What we're doing here is education and growing with our 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 farmers selectively, and giving them the proper tools to be successful, and we then expand and grow that so we don't have the hot status of people losing time and money and frustration, because when you get burned in this industry, it hurts
Yeah,
a lot,
it does.
and
Absolutely.
we don't want to do that, and we want to be able to provide products in the market space that are and have been gone through the rigmarole of compliance and regulatory and dealing with the FDA, the USDA. That's not an easy task for companies to maneuver and do it appropriately, you know?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because really regulation should just be about keeping the bad players out and then letting those that are willing to, stay within the rules and do the right thing, let them just go along and it shouldn't be so problematic. But there's such a fear right now. Obviously, we're just dealing with a lot of fear-based, uneducated decision makers is what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And my experience has been that oftentimes when I sit down and I do a fair amount of talking to attorneys from major companies and whatever the case may be. And once you just sit down and you explain it in very basic terms, it makes sense. But there's so much misinformation out there, and such between that, coupling that with fear and maybe certain preconceived ideas, prejudices. It is a big hurdle to overcome, but we'll do it. We'll get there. We're getting
Right.
there, and but we just need to have people who are speaking about this. I think articulately and can sort of work with people who already have these biases and misunderstandings.
Yeah, and when we are in product development, whether, I've been in product development for, well, most of my hemp career, and bringing new products to market, and helping others bring their products to market. That's basically what I've done in this space. Well, I've worked with legislation too, but my point is when you in your company right now, I guess let me back up. There's a lot of shit being slung out there on the market because people have this notion that they're going to strike it rich and just put crap out into the market. That is a disservice. No, you know, and that's another reason why regulations are in place. That is such a disservice to the consumer. And then as farmers are getting burned and doing the learning curve, so are end use customers. They may never come back if they get crap products and haven't been part of a successful chain of experts in the field that know their business and have been going through each and every hurdle successfully, you know. And
Absolutely.
that's where companies like yours have, that your
Functional
general
remedies.
counsel, Functional Remedies, they have been in there. I've known this company for a long time. I've seen y'all grow, and it's not an easy task. So when you're in this space, and I will vouch for this, people, um, I am not a paid affiliate for this company. I was able to get some of their products. I've taken their products in the past, in the beginning, and I will vouch for them that they have a great product. And I want to say this one product here I have, this full spectrum hemp oil for sports balm, is amazing. I have some shoulder pain. I put it on. I like the smell. I like the way it feels and the results I've gotten from it. And you guys gifted me this, and I thank you for it.
Yeah, no,
And
we get a lot of great feedback about that product and all of
yeah,
our products. And uh, I'm a lawyer, I'm not a salesperson. So,
right.
but I have spent my whole career trying to do the right thing. And so that was really why I chose Functional Remedies to come, because I knew that they were sincere and willing to, spend what was needed, because these aren't cheap endeavors to
No,
do things the right way.
not
It
at all.
definitely takes some resources, but we our tagline is as quality is our obsession, and it really is. And so it for me, it's very exciting to be a part of a company that I know that I have voice, and that I can, from my vantage point and my role, I can make sure that we are doing things right. We're not cutting corners, that our customers are getting what we say that they're going to get.
Yeah,
What, what's actually on our labels and packaging is what's in the product. And that we take our, organic seriously, we take everything seriously. And so it's not every company is like that. There are absolutely some other very good companies out there. But the fact of the matter is there's a lot of companies that either A, don't know, or B, don't care. I'm not really sure which it is. Probably varies.
it's a little bit of both.
Probably a little bit of
Yeah,
both, varying from
yeah,
company to company. And so for this industry to move forward, it's important to have companies that have this kind of integrity and
exactly.
standards, because
Absolutely.
we're not going to move the industry. And so I wouldn't be able to work with any, after all my years of regulation,
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to work with a company that wasn't doing, I can't turn a blind eye every single day.
No, no, you can't, and nor should you. And you have a big job to do. And I thank you for being there, one of the leaders for so many years in this space. So, my hat's off to you. You
Thank
know,
you.
thank you.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit more, what your greatest challenges are as general counsel with functional remedies, and elaborate off of that, maybe
Sure.
about what the FDA and those types of
Yeah.
things?
Yes. I don't think any attorney who's a general counsel for a hemp oil, as we are, or a CBD company, is going to disagree that we have big challenges with the FDA. And I say this as a person who worked inside the government for a really long time. So I think I understand what it's like to be on the inside and the challenges there. And I understand that the FDA has a obligation to protect consumers. I mean, that's really essentially what their mission is. And so I try to be really fair in looking at it, because again, I've been on the inside. However, at this point, it's frustrating that so many bad players have been allowed to go on as long as they have, because having done a fair number of cases where there were misleading claims, those are easy cases. It's all in writing. You can see it on a website. We should have been able to clean that up quite a while ago. And I think that would have given people in the industry confidence that that there is an awareness that there is a difference between those who are just trying to, play the system, and those that are really trying to do it right. That would have been affirmation if we can see more of that. So I think that working, and then it's just they've just been slow to provide the industry direction. And again, I understand being cautious and wanting to do things right, but in the meantime, there are a lot of people that are trying. For example, this is just one example, but trying products that don't work, and they think, okay, finally, I'm going to be able to um, get sleep at night, or this is going to help with some inflammation, or whatever the case may be. I mean, these are just realistic. This is realistic. And then they try a product that doesn't help in any regard, and then they think the whole industry is, not really. It's not really authentic, and that's bad because we want these people to get the products that they need that can be helpful in their lives. So, so it is important to get rid of the bad players. You do that in every industry. That's nothing new.
No, that's absolutely correct. There is nothing new with that at all. And just dealing with hemp seeds as a food is hard enough to deal with the FDA regulations for that, let alone a CBD product.
Yeah, so uh, that's definitely one of the challenges. Another challenge is circles back to what we talked about earlier in terms of education, because there's been a fair number of companies that just their legal counsel saying don't go near anything that has anything to do with hemp, and it's just a lack of education. It's a lack of understanding. All I have to do, oftentimes, all I do is I get on the phone, and because I have some credentials, they at least will give me, a little bit of their ears. And then I just say to them, look, this is a federal law that allows up to 0.3% THC. It doesn't say no THC. They could have done that. They didn't. So if there are trace amounts of THC, the federal law recognized that. And where did they put this? In the Farm Bill. I can't think of too many agricultural crops that you don't ingest. Um, that's why it's in the Farm Bill. So let's just sort of put these two little pieces together and let's get over this psychological hurdle that, oh my gosh, there's some THC. Oh my gosh, they allowed that in the federal law.
Exactly. I believe as we evolved, and this is some of the things that, as humans, as we evolved, not as the industry, but as we evolved as humans, we were hunter, forager, gatherers, right? So we ate. And when we know we have an endocannabinoid system within ourselves, now we have technology that shows and shares that. But in order for this to work and be the missing piece into the puzzle, that's why it does work with our developing humanoid bodies, right? The cannabinoids are those pieces that lock in and bridge those gaps in our neurological system. And, you know,
Absolutely.
not everybody will get benefits from this because we're all wired different. But for the people that it does help for the inflammation with the right products, let's clarify that, with the right products that the companies are tried and true and not just random off the shelf. When you have organizations, companies like yourselves that are following every step of the way, the process, that is so important for our listeners here to make sure they're getting that right education, information, and so on. And if a product doesn't work for you, there's probably something along the reason why. Well, as humans, we want the quick fix, right? We've seen it in CBD and cannabis as a whole, as a plant medicine, that with a couple of drops, we see people with grand mal seizures. It helps, 60 to 80% of those patients, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I have a fair number of physician friends. I was just talking to one the other day who's a neurologist, and he absolutely has seen it in his patients. Those that have been helped um, with CBD products, and of course, in our case, we're a full spectrum hemp oil, and we think that that's more beneficial because you get the full spectrum, not just the CBD molecule. We're not an isolate company, so
That's right.
that's something for people to explore and see if maybe that's the reason. If they tried another product and it didn't work, maybe it's because they do need the full spectrum. It just makes sense. It's just it is what
It,
it is.
it is exactly what it is. You're exactly right. I'm a strong advocate for full plant medicines, and that's another reason that the full spectrum will have a greater benefit to most that try it.
Yeah, and
That's
it's just, unfortunately, in this industry, CBD is the word that got out of the box kind of thing.
mhm.
And so now we have to kind of, I've been on panels where experts don't really understand the difference between CBD and hemp oil, and they don't use those terms
Appropriately.
properly.
Yeah.
And so I always feel like it's important for anybody in the public to understand this difference, because that's just we're kind of trying to overcome that mental hurdle as well, so that people, they can make their own decision, obviously, about what they want, which product they want to use, but we want them to understand that there is a difference.
There is a great difference. And, you know, I will say this, you know, just being a little sale arm here for your synchronicity line here. This one little CBD, I've ingested a lot of CBD. I've had a lot. We created it. We started creating CBD a long time ago. And this one right here, this berry lemonade, this is one of the best ones that I've had. And the reason why I say that is due to the flavor. The flavor and no aftertaste is really impressive to me. So the work to get this formulated appropriately, in my opinion, I think it's an awesome product.
Thank you. We do spend, because there are a lot of people that have found the hemp aftertaste to not be very pleasant.
Right.
Some people embrace it and think, oh, it's earthy and good, and I like it, and other people don't like it at all, and it's actually enough to have them not use a product. So
Yeah.
we recognize that as an issue, and we realized that we didn't want that to impede people's usage of hemp oil. So we've, again, I can't say enough about our team. I mean, we just have so many talented people in our company at Functional Remedies, and so we are able to come up with these kinds of products because we just work together and put our heads together.
Absolutely. And the other thing is for people that have tried the hemp oil for this purpose of under your tongue type of usage, if you can't and can't take oils in that manner, they do have another really cool product. Is as if you guys can see this, it's a hemp oil capsule, and that is another way. So if you've had problems with ingesting for whatever reason, you didn't find it palatable and don't want to try another hemp seed oil or CBD oil, try this full spectrum oil and capsules. And that's a great way to get it into your daily dietary routine and it really serves a good purpose if you can't pellet hemp,
Absolutely.
hemp
I mean,
oil taste or flavor.
yeah, again, it all circles back to, we don't want people to not discover
Yeah.
all the benefits of the hemp plant,
Yeah.
because the delivery isn't one that they can tolerate. So we constantly are tweaking and looking at new options.
And as far as this full spectrum hemp oil sports balm, and I know you're not the seller, and maybe I am a little bit more than you, but this one here is a roll on. It's 3 ounces. And I love the smell. You know, it is amazing smell, and the results on my shoulder, it is great. It is a great product. So people, you know, um, I'm doing a little bit sell here, and that wasn't the intention for Miss Maureen to come on by any means. I'm
No,
just
I'm not a
here.
salesperson. I really am not. I'm
Yeah,
passionate about our product, but I'm not a salesperson.
she's here to represent the industry, and she's here to give guidance and for her for their business there as counsel. But what she's done in this space is amazing, and you know, I am elated that you had the opportunity to be here with us. And I have another question for you
Sure,
before we go
absolutely.
here, but I just want to say hats off to you. And a lot of my listeners, I get the numbers, and you know, I have a lot of ladies that listen to the Hemp Chat. You know,
Yeah.
I was lucky to be partnered with one of the first licensed ladies in the industry, and I do not see where this is a man's plant. This you ladies are dominating this space, and my hat's off to you.
Thank you. It's really an opportunity for women, and I want to take this opportunity to stress that there's a lot of work to be done in this industry. And so, and I think that the industry has been very, has embraced me as a woman. Even when I worked at the Colorado Industrial Hemp Program, these farmers who were wonderful to me. So I think it's been really good in that regard. And I have three children in their 20s, and I just had this conversation last night actually with my older son and a friend that was over, and said, you really need to look at the hemp industry as a place, and it doesn't matter if you have marketing skills or one is a mechanical engineer. There's really is a need for expertise throughout this industry, and it's a great opportunity for graduates of college to at least take a look at, because most other industries, it takes you decades to be an expert, and you can still you can still be a leader and an expert in this within a fairly short amount of time. That just doesn't come along very often. Something that's this big, that's national, international, these opportunities don't come along every day.
No, and what I've seen being in the fields, inspiring many, and is the younger generations finding interest in the fields, seeing children and grandchildren coming to harvest is it just I remember the first, or it was the first or second harvest at Ryan Laughlin's farm, and Tom brought his grandkids out there, and it
Yeah.
was just really cool because they were picking the plants and learning. And
Yeah.
now these kids are probably, if they were 3, 4 at that time, they're now 7, 10, somewhere in there, or a little older, and they've grown up with this plant. So, I see like your children now, they're in an industry, or can be a part of an industry that's flourishing and growing, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I have uh, two children now that are in the hemp industry. And again, I come from a very mainstream background, so um, I would have never imagined this.
Yeah. So that
But
brings me to
very
my
fun.
next question with these kids and where you're at and where you've been going down the path. Where do you see the hemp industry headed, and what is your projection for years to come?
I think absolutely the sky is the limit. I think that we've got something that it's hard to find anything bad about the hemp plant, right? So you've got something that's got so much potential in so many different areas, and so I think it's going to just become bigger and bigger. And these kinds of conversations, we'll be looking at the old days when we were trying to educate and talk about this, because it's going to just be very understood. But we need to do it right, and we need to, again, just make sure that we have this opportunity as an industry, and to not ruin this opportunity, just to make sure that we're doing it right and ethically on all levels. And I think if we just are smart about it and committed to doing the right thing, it's going to open up a lot of amazing opportunities for so many people.
Thank you. That is one of the things that I've seen since its inception with Ryan. Yeah, I give Ryan so much props.
Oh,
I love him
absolutely.
for having the balls to go ahead and put that seed in the soil and
Absolutely.
really push the envelope. So I wouldn't be here without him. So I
Yeah.
give thanks and praise to Mr. Laughlin for everything he's done there in Colorado. But what I'm getting at with that is it's that farmer that takes and puts the seed in the soil and helps build that community growth and education and experiences for that community and support of that community. And let's face it, with where we are globally, having America be able to provide uh, a product or products coming from our soil here really empowers the United States. Okay. That may be a bold statement, but I think I'm right on point that this crop gives communities jobs back here in the United States.
I completely agree with you, and I base that on, again, going around and speaking um, to farmers, on a national basis. And I see so many young people excited about farming again.
Yeah.
That, this is something that has just, and it again, I've seen parents, I've seen fathers with sons, daughters with mothers, come out, and it's something that's sort of bringing people together. And I don't think we should underestimate the power in that.
No, we shouldn't. And there's a lot of power in that, and there's a lot of power in this plant, and it provides, fuel for our bodies. It provides fuel for our cars. It provides clothing and homes and many, many other things. Let's just get this regulatory nipped in the bud, all puns
Right,
intended,
right.
and let's move forward as a country and people, human, moreover, where we're at. Let this North America shine in this space, and let's just heal our planet and people.
I We are in agreement, and I think probably
Yeah.
most of your listeners are as well. So, well
Yeah.
said.
And
Well said.
well, so with that being said, I normally try to ask almost all of my guests, how or what, how do you see, or what do you see, to make, what can we do to make the world a better place, in your words? How or what?
Um, well, again, I think I've touched upon a lot of it, and I think that we just need to work together and not have divisiveness, because divisiveness is counterproductive, and we don't have time for that. And I think we just really need to educate our um, regulators and help them see the potential of this. And I do think the USDA is trying. I know that they've probably gotten a lot of negative feedback, but they've never done this before. They what they know as much as the people that they've listened to, and I think that they've done a good job of trying to listen. So, I think that I just think that this uh, is an opportunity to just for global growth, for national growth, and I think, again, I can't emphasize it enough. We need to do this right and not take it for granted, and recognize that those of us that are involved in this, we really are onto something. And let's just take whatever our area of expertise is and try to make it better. And as a concerted effort, I believe we'll get there.
Well, I thank you for that, and I do too. And having, from a doctor's perspective, a farmer's perspective, a consumer's perspective, you have to have the right tools. And I believe hemp and cannabis as a whole is one of the right tools that we can make the world a better place with. And wherever the paths take you, there's always an opportunity with this in the space. So we are all beating the drum to make the world a better place and make humanity better with the products that we consume. And I see that in the voting of their dollars. People are buying these products, and I don't believe this industry is going anywhere. We just have to let it evolve and take place appropriately, and like you said, shake out the ones that aren't doing this plant justice, or the people
Right,
justice in this evolvement. Is that
absolutely.
the right word? Correct me, I don't have that education.
I think we
Yeah,
know what you're
there
saying.
we go.
Yeah.
So, Maureen West, I thank you very much for your time and energy and devotion to this plant, and being part of the Hemp Chat here today and giving us your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
You're welcome. Hey guys, there you go. We just heard from Maureen West. Excuse me, Maureen. Didn't mean to butcher your name there. Maureen West of General Counsel for Functional Remedies, bringing us her education and what she's done in this space. And as I give props, my hat's off to her. She's one of the hardest working ladies in the industry, and I thank her for her time and dedication to this, as I stated on the show. So once again, their company is Functional Remedies. You can check them out online and check out their products. They have some great, great products. Like I said, I've had a lot. I'm involved with hemp CBD myself and other companies, but the mission here is to bring these beautiful products with the integrity and leadership into this space. And I thank them for everything that they've done, their education, their expertise, their knowledge has been great. And I really mean that. I want you guys to go try their products and let them know you heard it on the Hemp Chat. And like I said, I'm not an affiliate of them, but I do like to boost people up. And in Maureen, what she's done, being one of the first females to be part of writing the rules in Colorado and being part of the rules system and compliance, is just, it's people like her that make this space even more credible. So thank you very much. Appreciate you guys being on the Hemp Chat. Check us out on thehempchat.com. You can check us out on the interweb. You find our videos on YouTube. If you want to get a hold of me, please do so. If you see this on YouTube, as always, subscribe. We have new shows coming out on a weekly basis. And I thank you guys for supporting the show. Our sponsors, Tiny Hemp Houses, Colorado Hemp Tea, hdinnovates, Eco Envision, and we also have Canaf Partners USA. Want to give a big shout out to what they're doing in the world of Canaf. And it's all about education. It's all about planting those seeds of wellness for the people and the planet, people. So make sure you get out there and you know, spread the word. Love your mom, hug your Mother Earth, and let's thrive and strive to be better. Okay, just be better. And we give you all the information to help you make the right decisions in whatever part of the space that you want to be involved in. So in hemp we trust, people. Have yourself a great day, and thank you for dialing in to the Hemp Chat.